Just fixing up my other stream here. All right. It is podcast time. We're going to get into the show in a minute. And today we're going to talk about what to do when things get hard. So before we tune in, though, I'm going to give it a minute, see if there's going to be anybody tuning into the show with me today. And give it a couple of minutes, see if there's somebody that is going to tune in and do this thing with me. But if not, that is all good. And we'll get going. But as you tune into this, if you're tuning in on the replay, make sure to drop me a comment. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, any of those, drop me a comment. Let me know that you're here. Let me know that you're watching. And before we get into the show as well, what I want to make sure is abundantly clear is who we're looking for to be on this show, who we're looking for to be watching, who we're looking for to be listening to the podcast. We're looking for people that are involved in the athlete journey. I want people watching this show that are athletes themselves, looking to take themselves to the next level in their sport. People watching this show that are coaching young athletes that are looking to take themselves to the next level. People watching this show that are parents of young athletes to learn how to best support them, the mentality that they need to instill in them to be able to support them along that journey of becoming the best athlete that they possibly can. All right, so we're going to get into the show talking about what to do when things get hard in 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Elite Development Podcast, the show designed to help athletes gain an edge on their opponents and build their dream careers in sport. I'm your host, Kenny Dussault, and today we're going to be talking about what to do when things get hard. The reason that I wanted to bring this topic to you all is that there are so many athletes out there that as they move up ranks, as they move up levels, they start to lose the passion for the game. They start to lose the passion for competition. And this isn't because they don't love it anymore. This is simply because they're getting caught up in other things. They're getting caught up in the politics of the game. They're getting caught up in comparing where their career's at to where the careers of other athletes are at. They're getting caught up in contracts, how much money they're getting paid, the fact that it's not enough money, the fact that they feel like they deserve more, being upset that a sponsor went with that athlete instead of them, and whatever else it might be. And the more and more energy these athletes are spending on these other areas, the more they start to burn themselves out, the more they start to lose passion for the game and then get negative about the sport that they used to love. So what I want to get into here, thanks for tuning in as you tune in live here. What I want to get into here is first how to catch that burnout when it comes up. And second, what to actually do about it. So let me know if this resonates with you as you're listening in. Have you ever felt yourself, thinking about your sport, thinking about this thing that you used to be so passionate about and just feeling negative, like getting right into, what's not going well, getting right into the things you're not loving anymore, the things you're not happy about anymore. And instead of focusing in on the fact that you're in a position where you get to spend time pursuing a sport at the highest level you can. I know that it's happened to me even with coaching, but I want to really get into how to catch that when it happens, but also what to do about it when it does as well. So if you find yourself losing the passion for the sport a bit, if you find yourself burning out a little bit, if you find yourself, not really feeling the passion you used to, a lot of ways to really kind of catch when this is happening. Number one, I've found is when you start feeling like you're showing up because you have to, instead of showing up because you want to. One of the things to remember is that you get to be an athlete. You don't have to be one. Right. So if you're showing up every day and you're not regretting, that's the wrong word, but if you're showing up every day and you're not happy about being at training, you're not happy that you're getting to spend your time at the gym, you're getting to spend your time working, putting in the time, putting in the effort with your training partners, with your teammates, that's a first sign that you're starting to burn out. When you start feeling like you're doing this because you have to do this and you're not doing this because you want to do this. So that's number one. Or number two would be not showing up at all. You have a training session that you know you need to get to, and you just don't bother showing up. You don't bother getting out of bed for that morning session. You don't bother showing up to the gym after. That's a huge shift to make you understand that you're burning out a little bit, make you understand that you're not feeling that same passion for the sport that you used to. One other thing is when you find your mind constantly on negative thoughts. So if you're in a position now where you're competing in a sport, and instead of your mind being on how excited you are to get to compete again soon, or how you've improved this, that, or the other skill set in training this week, or any of the other good things about the sport, and your mind instead is sitting on why am I not getting paid more, or why aren't sponsors approaching me, or whatever it might be, that thing you didn't like that your coach said at practice yesterday, and you find you're always shifting to those negative mindsets, this is going to be another huge indicator that you're starting to burn out a little bit. Sorry, stumbling over my words there. This is going to be another huge indicator that you're starting to burn out a little bit. So if you're sitting here, if you're watching this live, or if you're tuning into the replay and one of those ones resonated with you, I want you to think about it a little bit. I want you to think about your past couple of weeks. When you're showing up to training, do you really have that same passion, that same joy, that same excitement that you did maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago? Or are you missing sessions that you should be at because you simply just don't want to go? Next up, when you're there, are you in the moment? Are you present? Are you excited and happy to be there? Or are you starting to find yourself constantly looking at those negative sides, constantly looking at those things that you're not happy about, or the things that aren't going well? And if you're sitting here and you're watching this or listening to this, and any of those resonate with you, and you start to realize that you are dealing with one of those, now I want to get into one very, very simple trick that you can use that can help reignite that passion, that can help reignite that fire, that can really get you back to feeling your best and back to that passion that actually got you into the sport in the first place. And this trick is incredibly simple. What I want you to do is pause this podcast right now and go grab a notebook and a pen. Okay, so now that you're back, what I want you to do with that notebook and pen is I want you to take a few minutes and I want you to think, what are the 5 things you love the most about your sport? And I want you to write them down. I want you to write down the 5 things you love the most about your sport. And we're going to take the example of combat sports of some kind, because that's the majority of the athletes I work with personally. One of those things can be the camaraderie you feel with your teammates. One of those things can be the fact that you get to punch and kick people in the face. Whatever it is that gets you, but write down the 5 things you love the most about your sport. Then once you write down the 5 things you love the most about your sport, I want you to write down next 5 goals you have for your sport in the future. And then what I want you to realize is that when you have those 5 things you love, and then those 5 goals for your future in the sport, those 5 things you love about the sport are what is going to carry you through to achieving those goals. Because if you're grinding through this every day and you just hate it and you just don't want to be there, you're not going to put the time, the effort, and the intentionality into it that you need every day in order to be successful. Yes, there are going to be times where you need to grind through a training session. Yes, you're not going to be at your absolute best every single day. But if you are grinding through it every day, if you're never happy about being at training, something's wrong. So remember that these things that you love about the sport, these 5 things I just had you write down that are your favorite things about showing up to training, your favorite things about competing, that is what is going to carry you through. That is what you need to keep top of mind when you're feeling that burnout. Okay. So now the next time that you start to feel that mentality kicking in of, oh, I don't want to go to training. Oh, I don't want to do this today. Oh, I think I should just roll back over in bed and sleep in. Come back to those things that you love. Come back to those things that got you excited and interested in the sport in the first place. Because if you can come back to those every day and you can realize, I'm here because I love it, I'm excited about just being able to be at the gym, I want to give the most I can to this training session, now you're going to actually start to make progress. But if all you're worried about the whole time you're training is how much you're going to get paid the next time you fight, then you're not focused on what's going to actually help advance you in your fighting career. And obviously, if you're not a fighter and you're an athlete in a different discipline, you can take that same concept and put it towards your discipline. If your focus is that you're upset that you're not playing at a higher level right now, you're not giving everything you can to the level you're at. And as a result, you're not going to continue to advance. So the reason that, just to recap, the reason that I wanted to bring this topic to you of what to do when things get hard is because as athletes move up the ranks and as athletes get to higher and higher levels, instead of focusing on what got them there in the first place, the love and passion for the sport, they tend to start focusing on things outside of that. They tend to start focusing on things like their contract. They tend to start focusing on negative things they hear in the media, on sponsorships, on these other things that, yes, are going to play a factor in your career as you move forward, but aren't going to be conducive to you giving your best when you're training, and in turn aren't going to be conducive to you actually being able to compete at your best long term. So when things get hard, when you start to feel that burnout in yourself, what I want you to do is take a little bit of time and write down the 5 things you love the most about your sport. The 5 things that actually got you to this point, the 5 things that actually kept you pushing through the hard training sessions, kept you enjoying it, and kept you passionate about it. Because if you can do that and you can come back to those 5 things, you can get back to why you're here in the first place. And if you can get back to why you're here in the first place, you can get back to understanding what it is you actually want from this sport and not focus on the superficial things like the money, the superficial things like the media, the crowds, all of that kind of stuff. You can get back to focusing on just getting better. And in turn, that's going to actually help you move forward and actually move to higher and higher points in your career. And just as an example, as you're listening to this and as you're watching or as you're listening back to this on the replay, I want to give it a personal example for myself with coaching. This is what I've wanted to do since day one. I was probably 13 years old the first time I said I wanted to own a gym one day. And through that time, I've worked a ton of different jobs. I've worked with a ton of different athletes. I've had good experiences, I've had bad experiences, and I've had everywhere in between. And through that time, there have definitely been those moments of burnout. There have definitely been those moments where everything seems to be going wrong. I'm questioning if I actually deserve to be here. I'm questioning if I'm going to actually be able to make a living at this. And as those questions start to enter my mind, there are definitely thoughts of not loving this job anymore, not, being as passionate about this job anymore. But then every single time that happens, in my head, I go to how would I enjoy working a desk job right now? How would I be enjoying this if I was sitting at a desk doing something I didn't really care about and, spending my days just passing the time? And then I realized that even at its worst, this job to me is better than anything else I can be pursuing. Even on the worst days, even on the days where everything feels like it's going wrong, I don't want to be sitting behind a desk all day. Even on the days where everything feels like it's going wrong, I don't want to be doing something else. I want to be doing this. And so right away, that tunes me into the fact that I want to be doing this, which means that I need to get over that negative attitude, which in turn means that I need to get back to doing the little things I know I have to do in order to be successful as a coach. So from that example, take that same thing to your career as an athlete and think of it this way. Even on the days where things feel like everything is going poorly, where it feels like nothing is going your way, where it feels like you just can't get anything right, think to yourself, would I rather be pursuing a career in my sport, or would I rather be sitting behind a desk somewhere, filing papers, doing something I don't care about? And that will tell you how badly you truly want this. And if you ask yourself that question and you say, I would rather be pursuing a career in my sport, now you know that it's going to continue, that you know that because you want to be pursuing a career in your sport, you can get past that tough day. And if you can get past that tough day, you can get past those things that are dragging you down a little bit, you can get back to focusing on what you know you need to do in order to be successful. So that is it. That is all for the show. I appreciate you all for tuning in live. As you will listen to this back on the replay, make sure to subscribe to the podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, all of those other areas. And then make sure to follow along on social media for more of these live streams, more of these podcasts. All the ways in which you can do that are going to be linked in the show notes of the podcast below. And if you took something away from this, I'd love to know what it was. I've got a few people here live. If you took something away, make sure to drop me a comment. Let me know what you took away. If you're listening back to this, make sure to leave a review for the show or send me a message and let me know your biggest takeaways. And I look forward to doing this again soon. Hope you all have an amazing rest of your day.